Hello, my name is Moore-Dawes. I'm a San Francisco State University graduate student and a professional archaeologist working in cultural resource management. I'm here today to present Get Up, Stand Up, a call for updated standards in Jamaican cultural resource management. When I was a little girl, my father had a giant conch shell and an abang on top of his dresser. I knew that these things were special, they were sacred, and I held great reverence for these items that both drove my curiosity and scared me. I would sneak them down and cautiously place the conch shell to my ear. I could hear the waves of the Caribbean Sea crashing against the Jamaican shoreline, the waves that carried Columbus and colonialism to Yamaka, land of wood and water. I felt like I could hear and feel all of our history, that at any minute I would be sucked into the shell and land in the past. I feared that I would hear the screams of abducted Africans who were turned duppy when slave ships ran aground. The ancestors thrown overboard the Zong would pull me into the deep waters with them. Then I looked at the Abang and I remembered those who had survived. I imagined glistening black skin, Cromanti warriors who blew the cow horn, distinct sounds corresponding with tactical command. The transatlantic slave trade took so much from us. We lost our tribes, familial ties, languages, and homeland. But all that we lost can be found in the collective memories shared and produced by sound. Today, I sound the bang. Today, I call out to all those that hear me to come and fight a new fight. Today, we raise the bang and sound off the third Maroon War. A war for indigenous archaeology, a war against neocolonialism in Jamaica. I'm not calling for war, I'm not telling no for and pick up no cutlass. I mean the power of your pen. As archaeologists, we have to come together and we have to write some new standards and procedures for this country. Because the current standards and procedures concerning cultural resource management and heritage preservation are not up to date. The 1985 Jamaica National Heritage Trust Act establishes the legal framework for sites of historical significance. The ambiguous language used by the JNHT Act makes Jamaica's cultural resource management a matter of opinion left to those who sit on the JNHT Advisory Board. Archaeology practice in Jamaica has overwhelmingly examined sites of colonial contact and occupation, centering the colonial powers of Spain and England as overwhelming, dominating forces. This has led to a precedent in which the material culture of colonial society is preserved, while the history and material culture of Jamaica's African and indigenous populations is destroyed. We need to return agency to the people of Jamaica in order to protect the archaeology, architecture, engineering, and culture of all those who have occupied the island and played a significant part in shaping its national history. Thomas King defines cultural resources as environmental aspects, both tangible and intangible, natural and built, that have cultural value to a group of people. I can't think of anything that holds more cultural value to Jamaican people than family burial ground. In the early 1940s, my grandfather Leonard Moore worked on banana boats in Jamaica, and he purchased a piece of land, Lot 38, Irwin, St. James, 5 acres of beautiful forested land. is now being impacted by the Montego Bay bypass. Unfortunately, the part of the land that the highway is going to cut directly through is my family burial ground. This led me to question the methodologies being used in Jamaica to exhume human remains and how many family burial grounds were being impacted by government-funded development projects. I wondered about the laws and regulations. And as I dove deeper into my research, I realized that there really wasn't anything. That the standards that we have in the United States meant to protect people don't exist in Jamaica. It's heartbreaking. What I found was a need for comprehensive cultural resource laws. This is not just a heritage justice issue, it's an environmental justice issue. While Jamaica does need updated infrastructure, we have to make sure that we are creating sustainable development. This is an aerial view of Lot 38. That same lot that you just saw a few slides ago was densely forested. Under that tree is the graves of my family, literally in the middle of a highway. I had to question how this was possible. There's so many steps that should have been taken that I found were not. Basic things like pedestrian survey. I searched out an environmental impact report, and honestly, some of the things that I found in it were quite concerning and not up to professional standards. Here they're disparaging the community of Salt Spring. The community of Salt Spring has a far-reaching history of crime and violence that started back in the late 1960s to the early 1970s. Today, an internal community boundary still exists between the top Salt Spring and bottom Salt Spring, and is more lethal than ever. I can't imagine as a professional archaeologist writing something about the indigenous communities I would go into, and I can only imagine the amount of backlash there would be, especially when the government's coming in and they're taking resources away from this community. They're taking land, they're taking communal spaces. My family land, for sure, in Irwin, feeds a lot of people. 82 years we've paid taxes by selling mangoes. One of the issues I found here most concerning when they speak specifically about Salt Spring in this way is that in October of 2023, the Observer published an article titled Grave Worry: Salt Spring Residents Anxious About Reinternment of Loved Ones to Facilitate Montego Bay Bypass. The article details 20 graves that are in the proposed alignment of the multi-million-dollar highway project. It raises the concerns of residents that had been told that public cemeteries in St. James are almost at capacity. Community members stated that they had concerns that their family burial grounds would be treated in the same way that China Harbor Engineering Company, check, treated remains when constructing a highway in Westmoreland in 2019. Over in Westmoreland, this is even hard to talk about. It's quite disturbing. Over in Westmoreland, multiple residents stated that they witnessed grave sites being unceremoniously dug up, and that bones were being sent flying through the air as Czech tractors plowed through their resting places. One family stated that out of 8 sets of remains, only 1 was accounted for. Stephen Edwards, the managing director of NROC, told the Observer that prior to projects, they do identify most graves, but sometimes they happen to stumble across them. One of the issues that I have with this is that in California, we mandate anytime the ground is being disturbed a pedestrian survey. And based on the environmental impact report that I've read, this is not mandated because we don't have comprehensive cultural resource management laws in Jamaica. And what was done here was desk-based assessment, despite the fact that communities like Salt Spring are known Taino sites of occupation. I recently went to the Society for American Archaeology meeting, and there I spoke with a prominent Caribbean archaeologist who told me he has the feeling that Jamaicans just don't care about archaeology. Jamaican archaeology is at a point of crisis. Here and now we must decide, are we going to continue to act like colonial antiquators? Or are we going to lead the Caribbean in creating comprehensive cultural resource management laws? Ultimately, archaeology is a subfield of anthropology. And we need to prioritize people, culture, and heritage. Isotopic analysis of potsherds is cool, but it doesn't translate to the general public. Songs, music, dance does. I started this presentation with poetry to display how we can teach history in ways that create equitable opportunities of learning. I know that we all want Jamaica to be a more equitable society. Cultural resource management laws create jobs that mandates work, thus creating an opportunity for a job to be filled by a young Jamaican. Jamaica's parliament is currently discussing constitutional reform. We want to remove our colonial masters, but how can we truly do this if we don't reform our colonial institutions? We need to do better. I'm begging you as my community, as my colleagues, as my fellow academics to come together and create comprehensive cultural resource management laws in Jamaica. Because we can't continue to act like we go through places like White Marl and these bones are just A22, 52, or whatever number we've assigned them. These are living, breathing people. This is my father, a Rastafarian. My grandmother, a Trelawney Town rural. And it's other people in my community that are being removed from their resting place. We need to do better. Thank you.